we're continuing with our focus on the country's rail network, and today we're looking at the economic impact of an ailing state railway. David Williams from the Brenthurst Foundation has voiced that full or partial privatisation is the only way to save the railways. He joins me now to unpack what steps can be taken to restore a once safe and efficient rail system. David, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. I think before we get to what you think the solution can be moving forward, in your opinion, how do we actually get here to a derailed and decaying railway system?
Well, good morning. It's a perfect storm in the negative sense. This is not a recent thing. The decline has been taking place over the last 20 to 30 years. And there's a whole combination of factors. It's bad policy in not protecting railways against road competition sufficiently.
David, I'm losing you. Are you still with us?
Also, the passenger rail agency. I am.
There you are. There you are. Please just continue your point. Yes, I think I've lost you there for a few seconds.
The combination of bad policy, corruption, poor decisions, uncertainty about privatization. In the 90s, they were talking about Transnet and Eskom and entities like that being partially privatized or fully. They stalled, and we see the effects with Eskom. So it's a problem long in the making. The passenger rail network is almost at a standstill and has been for years. It's not COVID that did this. It's a long time of neglect and poor management. And Transnet Freight Rail is operating at a small capacity of what it used to.
Yeah. What would wonder then, why would government turn a blind eye on both Prasa and the effects, of course, of, the consequences, rather, of what we're seeing here? I mean, obviously, South Africans depending on this mode of transport. On the other hand, with transport, billions being lost in revenue, in tax intake, so many jobs that could have definitely been, created out of maintaining our railway lines. Why do you think government would turn a blind eye?
Well, it's certainly not policy. I mean, it's been policy for at least 20 years for government to move traffic from road to rail. It's also been policy to explore privatization, to reopen branch lines that used to serve small communities. It's certainly been policy to have a passenger rail service that serves the big cities like Cape Town, Johannesburg, and so on. But partly, as I say, neglect, partly corruption. But above all, I think behind all this is governance instability. I mean, Prasa has had so many chief executives, so many active executives, chairmen, ministers, and so on, that it's extremely difficult, I think, for anyone to get anything done. And there's a lot of talk about passenger rail, but nothing much is happening. In Cape Town, people are living on the tracks. When they come to repair them, they chase them away. Minister Mbalula, in talking again, he does a great deal of talking about how they are going to deal with the crime and vandalism that has affected the railways. But nothing seems to be happening. And rather like Eskom, policies may be in place, but action on the ground is short.
What do you think needs to be done, David? What do you think government should prioritize to ensure that our railway networks actually get back on track?
Well, certainly they should explore public-private partnerships. And we see with Eskom, when they start opening the door to the private sector getting involved, there is interest. But government also has to understand that the private sector needs to invest for the long term. They also need to know that there is stable policy, stable governance, and not criminal governance, because that's been exposed at the Zondo Commission. And you've got to take the long term, and you've got to have a real partnership. And government appears to be schizophrenic about this. On the one hand, they want the private sector to get involved. On the other hand, they don't want to give up control. And we know that state-owned entities have for long been a place of patronage for the government. So what they need is a genuine approach to private sector involvement, a genuine offer of a return investment, if not now, way down the line. And I think you could get a social compact agreement, for example, on commuter rail, that this is in the interests of everyone to get this going again. But there's no sign of a coordinated approach. The rail agencies report to different ministers. The ministers don't seem to talk to each other. The civil servants seem to spend a lot of time on strategy sessions and not much time on actually getting things done.
How bad can things get? In my last question to you, how bad can things get should a government, alongside with some of the solutions that you've tabled this morning, how bad would it get if they don't, of course, heed the call and prioritize these solutions?
Well, it's hard to see how much worse it could get with passenger rail because it's hardly happening at all. I mean, Soweto, Johannesburg, for example, no trains run. The long distance trains of South Africa, Shoshalos and Mail between the big cities, they just don't run. They've just scrapped off their passenger coaches. There's no sign of them buying new ones. So it actually can't get worse. And it's been bad like this for several years. So one wonders what else will take for government to try and restore.
Well, we have to leave it there, David. And thank you so much for speaking to us. Of course, the connection between us, not necessarily on our side this morning, but definitely got the crux of your point. David Williams from the Brenthurst Foundation, thank you so much for making time this morning.